Hi everybody, Dan Illman and Matt Bernier. The DRF Bets race of the day for Sunday, January the 6th, the Grade 2 Santa Ynez Stakes at the Great Race Place. Kentucky Oaks points on the line in race number 8, and you can bet this nice card with a DRF Bets account. Sign up at bets.drf.com, deposit 50, bet with 200. Sounds like a pretty good deal. Here's the field for the Santa Ynez. They only got 5 3-year-old fillies to go 7 furlongs. Bob Baffert as the number 1 mother. You can download free formulator past performances for this race from the Race of the Day event page at drf.com and handicap along with us as we take this field of 5 Keeneland graduates in post position order, beginning with the aforementioned mother. I thought she ran well last time out in the Starlet, Matt, going 1 mile and a 16th. Maybe that distance just a little too far for her.
Yeah, I think she's solid. I've always been a little bit of a fan of hers. I guess for her in the overall sort of big picture for me for this field of 5, I don't know how good she is. I don't know how good Bellafina is. I don't know how good any of these fillies are at this point, and we'll find out. Maybe it'll go a long way on Sunday. Also have to factor in, sounds like there's some rain in the forecast overnight on Saturday into Sunday, so maybe you have some sort of an off track for this race. But as far as mother is concerned, I agree with you. I thought she ran just fine in that Starlet, highest last out buyer, highest last out raw time form rating. The turn back should work to her advantage, but then I see the blinkers coming off, and I know you've got that big bullet in that most recent work on December the 30th, but so she's run twice with them off, she's run twice with them on, now we're going back off, turning back. I don't know what to make of her at this point, and I wonder if Baffert is kind of in the same camp.
Whether it's blinkers on or blinkers off in her 4-race career, she has shown speed in every single one of her starts. Now, Baffert mentioned in the race advance on drf.com he'd like to see her relax a bit, and that's why the blinkers are coming off. I guess there are some other speeds in this race, but I'd be really surprised if Mother is really rated hard out of the gate. I think she's got to be close.
Well, I think that inside post kind of forces their hand a little bit, where perhaps you don't want to get into a prolonged speed duel, but at the same time, I don't think you want to be in a situation where you're grabbing coming out of the gate and letting 1 or 2 other horses clear off. I think she's going to be forward. I think she presses the pace, and perhaps she ends up in some sort of a pocket trip, but at the same time, I agree with you. She's shown speed in every one of her starts. I expect her to be forward.
Let's take a look at the time form U.S. pace projector. The number 2 Bellafina is expected to be a finalist for champion 2-year-old filly in the upcoming Eclipse Awards. She's expected to be out there on the lead along with the 3 and the 1. She had a very nice campaign for Simon Callahan in 2018, winning 2 Grade 1 stakes races, 1 at this distance. She just didn't run well in the Breeders' Cup, and I guess it could have been a lot of different things, shipping out of Southern California for the first time, outside post where she hopped a little bit coming out of the gate and maybe had to rush to gain position. All in all, it wasn't a strong effort. My take on the race is I think she peaked 1 race too soon, and if Callahan had to do it over again, he wouldn't have run her maybe 4 times leading up to the Breeders' Cup, maybe only 3.
And you know what, if that's the case, then maybe we're looking at her getting back to sort of her best self, and she's going to run a big one on Sunday. I don't know. She is, to me, one of the more polarizing newly turned 3-year-olds, because I liked her in the Sorrento. I thought she looked really good that day. She comes back and she wins the Del Mar Debutante, and visually maybe the most unimpressive effort you've ever seen from a Grade 1 win. And I was way against her going into the Chandelier, and then she goes out and looks like $1 million going 2 turns for the first time. So I wasn't sure what to expect. I ended up picking her in the Breeders' Cup, and I thought she was terrible that day. So you're right. Maybe it was just a situation where you went to the well one too many times, and she kind of felt the effects of that campaign. I guess there's still some concern for me in the back of my head. It's sticking there that, was that Del Mar Debutante actually what she was, or was the Chandelier what she was, or is it a combination of things? Perhaps she was beating inferior company. I don't know what to make of her. At a short price, I don't want her on Sunday. I want to see what she does.
I do remember that our astute clocking crew, led by Mike Welsh, really wasn't that thrilled with her leading up to the Breeders' Cup, and I, like you, picked her in that race anyway, and she kind of ran maybe to those workouts. I do like the fact that it appears that she's solved her lead change problems, which seemed to be an issue in the Del Mar Debutante and in the Sorrento and earlier in her career. And with the blinkers off, she seems a bit more professional. This is a big race for Bellafina. Usually newly turned 3-year-olds with an eye on the Kentucky Oaks. It's not a big race the first year of 2019. It's a big race to see where she is. Let's talk about the number 3 Solded, who shares the early lead according to Timeform US with Bellafina, and she's very fast. They stretched her out in the Starlet. First start against winners, stretching out 3.5 furlongs. It was a tough ask.
It certainly was. And you know what? I understand she was losing some ground at the end of it. And admittedly, I'm a little bit concerned about distance for her. I do wonder how far she wants to go. And her only win to date came on turf, 2 starts back going 5/8. But I think she's actually okay. I don't know maybe if she's a grade 1 level runner, but I think there is a spot for her. And to me, it's going to be very interesting to see how Gutierrez plays this thing. Because with those 2 down to the inside, there's a part of me that thinks the only way that she can win this race is to just send and try to clear off and wire this field. If that's the case, maybe the other 2 are content letting her go. If you are content sitting off of them, I just don't know that she's at a point right now in her career where she's good enough to go by both of them.
I think that's an excellent point. I was going to ask you how you thought Gutierrez would ride Soldet, and I agree. Usually you want to be outside the other 2 speeds and hope that perhaps those 2 horses duel themselves into the ground. But those horses have so much quality, and Soldet still has to prove it against graded stakes competition, that maybe the best way to go is make the lead, take it to those 2 horses. Perhaps they have an off day, perhaps they don't want to race on the day, and Soldet is loose turning into the stretch, 8-1 on the morning line. The number 4 is Tomlin, and all she's done is win her last 3 sprint races, and she's sprinting once again here. The most recent start coming over the Tapeta surface at Golden Gate Field. She was a pace-pressing winner. Not sure she's fast enough compared to the top 3 inside of her, but maybe she sits that stalking trip. We have a nice formulator fact for her trainer, Steve Specht. Over the last couple of years, moving from synthetic to dirt, and sharp horses at that, last out winners, 50% winners, 75% on the board, and a whopping 645 ROI. It's not like she's slow, Matt. That 79 buyer compares very well to Bellafina's Breeders' Cup.
I think the interesting thing here with a horse like this, if you do believe that those inside 3 are the ones that go out there and set the pace, she might work out the best trip of them all. Now, I guess the thing for me is, you see that 79 that she earned in that stakes race up at Golden Gate most recently. I know she's a winner on dirt, but that was at Santa Rosa in her second lifetime start. I want her to prove that she's capable of replicating a number in sort of the, or I shouldn't even say replicating, she needs to move forward. Let's say if she can get into that mid-80 range as far as dirt is concerned, then yeah, she's certainly right there. And again, she could work out an ideal trip. I don't think this distance is going to be any sort of an issue for her. To me, it's just more a matter of, is she as good on the main track on dirt as she is on synthetic?
Completing the field is Reflect, who figures to be last in the early portion of the race for the DeZormo boys. And the question I have for you is, what has happened to Reflect? I liked her a little bit in the spin away at 23-1, and I don't think she ran badly when 6th. Only beaten 5 lengths, middle moving into a fast pace. She then ran 2nd in the Alcibiades, and a solid enough performance. Her last 2 races have been disastrous. The Goldenrod, if you just want to say she didn't like a wet track, well, that could hurt her on Sunday if the rains come in Santa Ynez. And the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, listen, I didn't expect her to win that day. I didn't expect her to be eased.
Well, I guess that's the thing for me. Each of these past 2, suppose you have the sloppy sealed track in your back pocket, is an excuse. Perhaps she's not good enough to run in a race like the Breeders' Cup at this point. The Alcibiades, admittedly, I was a little bit surprised by that effort, just simply because I didn't love the run in the spin away, and that was coming from, I liked her in the Sorrento going into it, and I thought the Sorrento was a disappointing effort. All along, I've had distance concerns with her. I think she's ultimately a 1-turn, 7/8 type. So when she ran as well as she did in the Alcibiades, it was a pleasant surprise. Look, these past 2 races, they have been so bad. It's difficult for me to have a ton of confidence in her in a spot like this, but at the same time, I think this is what she is. I think she is a 7/8 kind of horse. And if you think she can get back to a race like the Sorrento from a speed figure standpoint, particularly from a time form number, she's at least in there as an intriguing kind of horse that could maybe pick up the pieces. I don't know if she's ready to go right now, and she's going to need to have a major form reversal, but I do wonder if down the road she's a 1-turn, 7/8 type.
I think that's an excellent point, because I think you can make an argument that despite the Alcibiades, she's probably a closing sprinter at heart, which means she's going to need a little bit of pace up front. Bellafina and Mother, Soldet, Tomlin, these horses are going to have to hit, because Reflect figures to be last and maybe 6-7 lengths out of it as they hit the far turn. But maybe returning back to a sprint will help. We take a look at our top selections in this race, and Matt, you're going for a price. You think that perhaps Soldet can clear off away from sort of the big 2 down inside and pull off a nice upset?
Well, and really, again, for me, this whole race, I don't know really where these girls stand at this point. I don't know how good they actually are. Bellafina, if she shows up with her A race, she's the best horse in the race. She's going to get the job done. I'm still not totally sure what she is, because when I start to believe, she goes the other way, and when I start to go the other way, she makes me believe again. With Soldet, I just think the game is break, try to clear off, try to wire this field. It's a race that I won't have a penny on. I'm more interested to see what the inside two runners do. I want to see if they take that step forward here in their first start as 3-year-olds.
I think Bellafina can revert to the chandelier. I don't mind her turning back at all. We know she handles 7 in a race like the Del Mar Debutante. I think she lets Sold It go. I think she tries to get outside of that horse while maybe keeping Mother pinned down towards the inside, getting a cleaner shot at Sold It turning into the stretch. I went 2 and 1. Matt, you're going 3 and 2?
3, 2, 1.
Should be a fun race. The Grade 2 Santa Ynez. It is your Sunday DRF Bets race of the day, and you can bet all the action at Santa Anita with a new DRF Bets account. It's an easy sign up at bets.drf.com where you deposit $50 and you magically bet with $200. Approximate post time for the Santa Ynez, 4 o'clock Pacific on a Sunday afternoon at Santa Anita. Best of luck.